Okay, well, I'm going live because my camera battery is currently recharging, and therefore I can't do a 6 p.m. video for you today. So what I thought I'd do is I'll go live, and if people start coming in and wanting to chat to me, then I can, answer the questions and whatever else happens. I haven't actually used this particular setup before on YouTube since I haven't gone live on YouTube for like a long time, and they seem to have changed the screen somewhat, so therefore it's a little bit different from what it should be. And finally, I've got one person watching, and now they've decided to bugger off. Whether I'll actually like publish this live stream as a recording, I don't know. Well, bottom line is, if no one turns up, then what I'll do is I'll do a standard video anyway, and I'll do something like get out my tarot cards and we'll start having a look at that. Or I could just like start talking about weird experiences, because like some people have only just recently joined this channel and don't really know all that much about me as a person. So I might as well just like start telling the story from the outset until we get some people turning up here who would like to actually engage in chat and all the rest of that at some point. Hello out there. Please feel free to engage with me in chat and type something in, and I will possibly respond to it in some way or other, as the case may be and is required. And hey presto, they've gone. This is probably going to be like the shittiest live show of all time. So I might not keep it going for as long as I'd intended to. Okay, so let's just make a start. I go by the stage name of Nick Dutch for a good reason, and that's because I used to be a big fan of Tim. Well, I still am a big fan of Tim Burton, and in his movie Spooky Hollow, he spoke about some people in the local area who came from a Dutch descent, but the word Dutch in the American language at the time then referred to German. And so therefore I use the name Nick Dutch as a means of expressing an interest in ancient folk traditions in some variety of modern context, in the real world. Um, I developed my interest in all of these strange things as a result of strange things which happen to me, because what I'm doing in my life, including in my work, is still reacting to the weird things which happened to me when I was a kid, and I did see ghosts, and I did have prophetic dreams when I was in my 20s. And things escalated from that point. And I then had a chat with a chap in a pub, and he said that you can even go to the bookshop and buy books on this stuff. So I went to the bookshop and spent a fortune on that. And managed to sort of like build up a lot more understanding as well as confusion simultaneously. So I then had to experiment at home by myself to work out what was real and what wasn't. In my late teens, early 20s, I ended up in the pagan movement and experienced a lot of people saying a lot of things then, which I then also had to put to the test. And then I ended up with my own particular attitudes, which is that of something called a transcendental deist, which means I have skepticism of the things that I experience, but I choose to try and seek experience anyway. And that includes any variety of traditional supernaturalist toys, such as the dark mirror, such as tarot, pendulum. I've got myself radionic machines. And I just have a curiosity about how consciousness itself can interact with the outer world. And there have been some experiences which I've had to suggest, yes, there could in fact be some truth to a certain extent to some things, such as spell casting and the rest of that. But essentially, like, there's always questions as to what's actually done what under what circumstances, and whether what you've done was sufficiently effective, and by what particular theoretical understanding should that particular action have a particular effect in a particular way. And then looking at all the various different understandings and doing experimentations from those paradigms, from those points of view, to see which one could actually be more likely to have some truth in it, and then to try and experiment with the passage of time. The end result is I developed essentially my own spirituality as a result of doing all this stuff. And it's kind of good. It's been obviously confusing, because from the point of view of an experimental spiritualist or experimental occultist of any particular type, you're always up against any form of orthodoxy. You're either up against your social orthodoxy or atheistic orthodoxy, and also religious orthodoxy, which is kind of like normally a little against all of this weird stuff and trying to find things out for yourself and trying to, as it were, find God for yourself and find meaning for yourself. because sometimes doing that can, in fact, be a bit difficult and a bit dangerous, because people can intellectually go down all kinds of weird and wonderful paths of thinking, which could then distract them away from the search for the truth in a way which is actually going to work and work well in a practical sense. And there's lots of people in this world who just, I mean, like you can get like 10 people in the same room, and if you were to like boil down all of their beliefs, all of their opinions, and all of their spiritualities, what you'll be getting is just like tons and tons of differences. There will probably be some key core similarities, but the intensity of the differences and the different perspectives that people have gone down, the different routes of thought people have gone down, will be really rather intense. So that's essentially the only real danger of occultism, what it makes you think, or what the people within occultism might want to make you think. Sometimes for their benefit, sometimes because they're a bit sadistic and they enjoy messing with you, sometimes because they just don't know any better, or they themselves have been programmed either by experience or somebody else, or the willingness to try and get a particular ideology out in the world, a particular set of ideas, which, and everyone is slightly guilty of that. Everyone is. I've been guilty of that before. And I'm trying my hardest not to be, because I want everyone to have a look at all this world of the weird stuff from a position of objectivity, at least to a certain extent, apart from, of course, when you're trying to do your experiment, which requires more, subjective involvement. But the things that we do is, in fact, experimental. It isn't regarded as hard and fast science. Hello, Mr. Viewer. You're free to chat with me in the chat if you want. And so, a lot of my history of this channel has been trying to get people's thoughts and understandings about these things clear, as well as giving people the desire and the lust for experimentation, which I think is actually important. Because, it seems sometimes that there is some truth to everything in print, but also everything in print is somehow hearsay. And everything which is like on the internet is all, both in print as well as in video, in audio. But, a lot of it is hearsay. It's only when you can actually put things to the test properly at home that you can start to develop an actual relationship with a set of ideas. And that's why it's great for people to do things like buying Ouija boards and buying themselves tarot cards and trying to get involved with experimentation with all this stuff, which is what I've been trying to encourage people to do with a questioning mindset since I started doing this YouTube channel. And I did it incredibly badly, and a lot of my own personal issues came to the surface, and I probably upset a fair few people. But on the other hand, some people needed to be shifted a little. And I think some of the people who walked away from this channel maybe have they've got their own issues and own problems, and that's fine. But I will probably still have a different point of view than them. I'm not here specifically to encourage any particular spirituality or religion or religiosity, or indeed approach to the subject at hand. Hello, new viewer. Hello, two new viewers. Great to see you. Oh, hello, Phoenix. It's great to see you again. How's it going? Did you want to engage with me or ask me any questions? Might as well be a Q&A session to a certain extent. Either that, or I just get out my tarot and do some random readings. This is me, Nick Dutch, talking to you, Phoenix, for no particular reason, apart from the fact it's Friday night and I feel like chilling out and talking to people live on video, and I haven't done this for a long time, so I thought I'd give it a go again. So how are you? What have you been up to? And do you have any questions for me? And silence reigned on the heavens and on the earth. Yeah, I do tarot. That's right. I did say tarot. I've actually got a set of my cards here. Could do a quick reading now for fun if you wanted. Yeah, I know. It's what I do. Okay, it's my job. I've been doing a professional tarot reader now for the past more than 16, nearly 17 years. No, it's not like I should totally do that. I totally do that. It's my job. All right. I'm also starting to stream tarot readings on Bigo Live now, which I've been doing for about an hour or more, each day. And I want more people to enjoy what tarot has to offer. That's why behind me there's that's the table that I do my filming for Bigo Live, and I've got like loads of tarot, loads of runes. It's all there. I got my crystal ball on that table over there, radionic machines down there. This is actually quite a strange room. It's not really the kind of room that I'd want to invite a vicar into, because it's just like, even a wooden pentagram on that table, that probably upset a few people. I can't really say that, because actually, can I do tarot now? I could do tarot now. Yeah, sure, why not? It's my Friday night, so I can do what I want, and if that means playing with cards, I can do that. Go on then, give me your date of birth, and I'll give you a reading. Because what I'd normally do is, I would not give away a free reading, but you've chosen to watch me in a live stream. So yeah, I need your date of birth, at least the year. Okay, just let me know you're over the age of 18. Because if you are, then I could do a reading for you whilst I'm here. Yeah, okay, fine. So now the next thing you need to do is to give me a question, because it's challenging for someone to say, "Oh, just tell me something about myself." I mean, what particular area of your life do you want me to look at, for crying out loud sake? What's the actual problem here? So then you give me a question, then I do a little reading. I'm shuffling right now, okay? So we're just waiting for a question from Phoenix here. The kind of questions people ask me about is love and relationships, social interaction in the workplace, how people are getting on with you, whether your prosperity is going to improve in the new year, and also an analysis of just the vibration of the path of your life. That would be the kind of question most people would ask about. I'm not legally allowed to read upon pregnancy, medical matters, childbirth, issues of paternity, and some particular legal issues would be completely off the board. And I've got to, value my integrity in the profession so I can't ever cover those particular subjects. But pretty much anything else I'll have a look at for you. But if you're going to ask me silly questions about like Martians, then I'm going to say no. Yeah, okay. So what is your love question then? Is there a particular person you're involved with? What's their first name? What's your question about them? Okay, you've asked about yourself and your partner. Here we go. So here's the cards for you. There's the cards for them. This is the thing which defines the energy between the two of you. And we'll see where it's standing at the moment. Okay, on your side of things, you've got both the Devil card reversed as well as the Ten of Coins reversed. Okay, these are not bad cards in any way whatsoever. It speaks about an intense desire and a connection with this person, or at least a feeling of it. But you've also got to work out whether that's a clear-minded connection and whether that's a full level of understanding. The Ten of Coins reverse could be talking about opportunity for success and achievement within the situation that you're thinking about, but there's also still a question of compatibility about that. Therefore, the reading is encouraging you to see how it evolves and to carry on being proactive with communication, so that there could be some good evolution there. Signs on their side of things is suggesting they're a person going through a lot of inner change. Okay, that's the intellectual change, that's the emotional change and spiritual change. So they're not the same person that they were when you first met them or first came across them or first heard about them. All right, the reverse Knight of Cups there is suggesting that they're seeking something very special, but they themselves don't quite know precisely what it's all about. So therefore, there's an energy within their side of the card reading, which is suggesting to me that they needed to experience your wisdom. Now, one of the good things about this specific reading is the forces between the two of you. All right, because that's a very strong mercurial card. We can say it's mercurial because of the color coding. Blue and yellow go together within the mercurial understanding. That essentially refers to some variety of communication requirements. At the moment, though, the sense of the communication between the two of you has a certain element of conflict about it. But also because we've got the mercurial colors, there's also a sense of a ability to bring about healing within the relationship and therefore to bring about better understanding. This, however, will still be quite hard. You're both very different energies as people, okay? Because the way in which you're looking at the situation, the way in which you're looking at him, and the way in which he's looking at yourself, as well as him going through his own personal self-exploratory phase and trying to working out what's true, there's going to be a lot of friction going on between the two of you. You know, I would say to many of my clients the same thing I'd say to yourself right now, and that is talk to him, reach out, try and explain things. There's 6 things that matter in a good relationship. You know, the understanding of goals, boundaries, conduct, values, communication methods, and rules of engagement. So you do have to have very detailed, very in-depth conversations about these things. So you get his point of view, he gets your point of view, and you can then have a meeting in the middle. But that's my opinion based upon what I'm seeing here. Okay, let's move away from that. And then do another 3 cards for the short-term, medium-term, and long-term future within the same situation. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so short-term future, still very difficult, okay? Ace of Swords coming out, it actually came out reversed, meaning that there is a twist to the meaning, not that the meaning itself is reversed, okay? So there's a sense of there still being some conflict. There's a sense of him still being defensive and causing a few problems within the relationship. But there's also an overriding sense of opportunity for victory, which is kind of like being expressed very nicely there with the Prince of Wands, which speaks to a certain extent about the potential for something miraculous to happen. Again, it came out reversed. So take it with a pinch of salt, but also carry on approaching this individual and carry on talking to them, because something very different in their energy and yours can start to create some very good chemistry, which is proven by this card here. Okay, which is talking about 2 people of different energies contributing together to try and create something rather good and positive. So do that thing. Hello, SpookyBoo22. Great to see you here. Just thought I'd pop on live so that you can, if you wanted to talk to me, you could. If you didn't want to, then you don't have to, you know, that sort of thing. Just a chill out Friday evening. I'll spend as long here as I can. Hello, Claire. Will we find a buyer for our house soon, or do we need to bring in an agent? That's something you have to think through yourself, okay? You can ask me if you want, but remember, no matter what answer I say, you still have to think things through. I mean, with a situation like a house move, that's always very complicated anyway. And surely you want someone who can do some of the work for you, so maybe bringing in an agent would be a good idea purely on the basis of common sense, okay? But, you know, assess your situation, assess how long you can carry on in your current state of being, and see how things go. Now, I've just dealt out 3 cards for you. Shuffle the cards very thoroughly. We got that one coming out again. But the most important one for you personally would be the 4 of Discs, which speaks about securing things associated with the material, such as property. So you're going to go through this process, and I'm pretty sure you will get a house sale done. I don't give precise time frames, but it would make a lot of sense that I almost called it the afternoon, the autumn of the year, all right, is probably when things are going to start to work out. So we're talking about June, July, between August and October. I would hazard a guess would be the time frames you'll be looking at, roughly speaking, for something big to start occurring. In my opinion, personal opinion, get the agent sorted out anyway, because that would be a good thing. Is your friendship over for good with Emma? Okay, let's have a look. I'll shuffle again nice and thorough. This one's for Spooky Woo. Yeah, no worries, chill out, okay? One of the best things a tarot reading can do for you is to provide a separate space and time whereby you can think through your problems differently. Okay, that's the most important thing about it. Just give these cards a quick shuffle, and I'll see about Spooky Boo's question. 1, 2, 3. Maybe not over for good, all right? But there's a sense of things being a little difficult. A lot of the power would have to come from yourself. We got some emotional negativity on their side of things, which means that they're feeling it's an awful lot more than you are. And that could just be from their perspective, their point of view, or their own level of personal sickness that they've got going on with them at the moment. Okay, just as who they are as people. Don't blame yourself, but also be self-critical so there can be more growth. However, there's still a sense of there being some kind of friendship or emotional abundance coming on further on down the line. Very alive sense of there being some kind of communication of another nature or another type being expressed in that one particular card. So, therefore, a definite change of perspective and understanding. And again, signs of searching for a better way of doing things. All right, a better perspective, a better conversation. But it's a question of making sure those conversations can actually be open first, which would be more, your sort of thing. You got to work at that side of things first prior to anything else. Does that make sense? Mm. I'll hang around here a bit longer. Mm. As I say, the main reason for this live stream is that my battery on my camera is charging at the moment, so I can't actually shoot video for this particular time of day. So that's why I thought I would go live and just see what happens in this kind of like weird, chaotic way. Uh, so write something into the chat, or I'll just end up saying something completely random and making everyone think I'm a complete lunatic. I think it's quite an. Yeah, you might have to make the first move, but also look at yourself right now. You're someone who is reaching out to me to answer a question about something that's pressing on your mind right now. So therefore, you're the kind of person who's quite willing to look out for different points of view and different answers. Therefore, you're the kind of person who's probably a bit more emotionally understanding than your partner. Okay. So that's the qualification that you've got to try and make the relationship work, surely, because you're in this position of greater clarity of thought, in this position of greater understanding, and of course, a desire and a need to bring about positive change. I mean, does that make sense to you? The power has to come from yourself in this particular situation because of where you're going and who you are. I mean, the signs I saw in your side of the reading were not negative at all. They're actually quite advanced. So yeah, I would say do what you can to try and bring about the positivity if you see fit. Because one thing a reader is not supposed to do for you is to turn around to you and say, yes, that person is your soulmate. Yes, they're your true lover. They'll be with you forever. Because if they do that, I think that they're like not really helping you. And I think it's better to use more complicated and allegorical language sometimes to communicate to my clients that space that they can use to work things out for themselves. I'm not here to turn around and influence people. Okay, I'm not supposed to be turning around and saying like everything is going to be fine because I said so. Because I think that's not good. Sure, I often in my calls was saying like all will be well because that's an emotional intention for them. But I don't turn around and say everything's going to be brilliant straight away. And this is one of the reasons why I'd much rather my clients had longer calls with me. Not just because that's the way I earn my income, but because there's a necessity to explain complicated situations to people in a way which would help them to receive clarity of thought. Does that make sense? So that's kind of like what I am in the way in which I work. Hello, new viewer. Please engage with me in the chat because I'm in a responsive position at the moment. I'm responding to what you say and what you do, rather than me sort of like taking control here. I mean, one of the reasons to have these live shows is so that you can engage with me. So engage. Okay. Well, no problem. I enjoy doing that little reading for you. Okay, I do enjoy my work when it's not too hard, and also when it's not too easy. When it's just right, it's perfect. All right. Do you have questions for me? Nope. As there's not much happening here, I think I'll probably stop the live stream now because otherwise it won't look good. Please do a series on the minor arcana. Yeah, I could do that at some point. That would be really rather a challenge, especially in terms of time. I'll probably refer back to Crowley Thoth for that because the artwork does a lot of the emotional expressions for you. Yeah, Jenny, it's good to see you. Yeah, I know I haven't done live for years and years and years, and welcome back. I am still active. I'm still making plenty of content. At least I'm trying to every day when my battery on my regular camera is working. Do you have any questions for me, or indeed, would you like me to do you a reading today? I mean, it just depends upon what vibrational space you're in right now. I mean, the minor arcana essentially is quite weird in its own right. I mean, the major arcana is the fifth suit. It deals with spiritual and intellectual issues. It speaks about higher things or higher energies, so to speak. The minor arcana is designed to be more of the mundane world. Okay, and the suits are hockey sticks, namely staves, which means sporting competition, swords, conflict, coins, commercial life, and cups is social interaction. So those are the four suits, so to speak, the four elements of human life. And that particular explanation has been kind of like kicked into the long grass for quite a long period of time. And everyone goes on about, oh, the mages, the mages, the mages. Yeah, well, what about like life? I mean, maybe that's one of the reasons why some people actually do fortune telling with playing cards rather than tarot cards, because playing cards are basically tarot cards without the mages and with one less court card. That's all they are. Okay, so some people will probably maybe even look at the material level that way. Okay, Jenny, confirm you're over 18 and give me a question, and I will do a reading for you today. Just waiting for Jenny to give me a question now. I'll give the cards a thorough shuffle whilst I'm waiting. Do you have a question for me, Jenny? Hello, is there anybody there? I haven't said that without a Ouija board for a long time. I know you're thinking. Just giving the cards a nice, thorough shuffling. Nice, thorough shuffling. About your career direction mostly. Okay, what is your career question? I mean, if this is just a general reading about your career, then we'll be talking about financial gain in about 12 months' time. There will be a sense of real challenges in your short term future brought about by the charioteer, but also a sense of improving your skills tremendously so that you can move your life in a better direction. You've got to be very in control of yourself, and there's going to be people around you who are going to try to deliberately set you off your balance. So you have to get some self developmental skills in place so you can deal with that. There's no sense of real negativity in your longer term future. It's just by your midterm. So we're talking about 6 months' time down the line from now. There's going to be something rather difficult to deal with emotionally when it comes to work. But there's a sense of transition onto a massive level of personal gain. I would say you're working on some kind of like serious improvements in your career, and something good is going to emerge in the not too distant future. But you're still working up to that. But you've also got to make some bigger decisions. From what I saw in the reading, you don't have to make those big decisions just yet, but something good is about to develop for you. So Spooky Boo says, do I like the Rider-Waite deck? It's the most well-known. It is very, very popular, but because it's popular, I think it's got some problems. It seems to communicate in a very specific kind of a way. Yes, it's got a lot of very good stuff from tradition, but it's still not, doesn't really hit the mark. I don't actually have the Rider-Waite tarot. And I think different tarot decks are designed for different levels of investigation or different levels of contemplation. I mean, the Night Sun tarot is too good for me to want to use for reading. Okay, it's as far as I'm concerned, it's just too damn good. The artistry, the way in which everything flows, the characterizations through the sequence, the depth of the illustration and the artwork is just pretty amazing. And so that is that's a more serious tarot deck. It's there for contemplation, it's there for magic, it's there for traveling into various different symbols, and some of the imagery is very challenging as well and not very easy on the eye. And so it's got like a very serious sense of purpose to it. Jenny says, I'm going through a bit of a gray patch at the moment, so I need to develop some skills, but I'm not sure which direction to go in. Yes, but Jenny, what you do know about yourself is what you have achieved before, what you were most successful at, what types of working environment was best for you, and what type of people was best for you. And so these things should help to narrow it down. And also you understand what you can do, what kind of working environments seems to suit you. So, it's a question of making a decision based upon that more than anything else. Hello, Nature Spirit. It's great to have you here on this tiny little congregation that we have this evening. And do you have any questions for me, or do you want me to do a quick tarot reading whilst I'm here? Hello, Nature Spirit. Do you have a question for me? Hello, Mark. How am I liking the live function here on YouTube? It's a function. I'm live and I'm on YouTube, so it can't be too bad. I mean, I much prefer what I can do on YouTube and the fact it's simpler layout than what I've been trying to do on Bigo Live, because Bigo Live is based upon a phone app, okay? And so all the buttons are tiny little things on that, and you've got to understand them all. And there's all kinds of things that flash around on the screen when you're trying to do a live show. So I find that a bit distracting and a bit difficult. And it's not really my cup of tea. They're trying to blend a combination between social media as well as video in a very complicated, convoluted way. I probably just need a 10-year-old kid to just explain it to me, that sort of thing. YouTube is where I've been for 16, 17 years, something like that. Yeah, 17 years. I don't know. So it's like I've been on YouTube for a period of time. That's why I'm old. I've got gray hair. I walk with a cane or a walking frame, I'm very old now in YouTube terms. You know, some people talk about how old you are in dog years. In YouTube terms, I'm a geriatric. Mm. I mean, I haven't done live on YouTube for ages. I did it before it became what it is like now. What it was like before, I don't really recall. So, how is everybody? What do you think of stage mediums? Some of them have some genuine skill. I think that some of them won't, and I think that some of them are very good performers. And I think it depends upon the person and also what level of reality they're looking into. Um, I might go and see one at some point just for a giggle, but I won't be doing it for any form of serious investigation. Yeah, yeah, you must have. So during the days I was wearing that baseball cap, that was definitely more than 10 years ago now. Yeah. Well, I'm definitely older than I was. And by the standards of all these young people on YouTube, you know, these young sporty types and young beautiful things and all the rest of that. Yeah, I mean, I have a different vintage. I mean, I actually attended a psychic development class run by a lady who does platforming and stage mediumship, and she was good. She was very good. You have a question for the cards. What is my best focus during this summer? Okay, let's have a quick look. Okay. The gathering of wisdom is probably the strongest message I could give you from this one particular reading here. Okay, the universe card or the world card would definitely speak about the acquisition of wisdom. But I think it's rather interesting that your particular spread has got two particular very specific signs associated with wisdom, one from a male perspective, one from a female perspective at the same time. And the card that was in between the two of them speaks about slow progress and forces holding you back. So I think it's a question of working out what you should be, what's your main focus in this summer should be is learning. Then it's a question of what type of learning you want to do and what is holding you back in terms of maybe your own intellectual or emotional blocks about some particular subjects, which is stopping you from achieving your next big goal as you carry on doing what it is you're doing. I feel it's more a question of the more you read, the better. And I think it's a question of the more you find out about the world. I mean, essentially, if you've got both male and female energies associated with wisdom, maybe one of them is to do with the study of things, and the other one is to do with the practice of things. Okay, so on one side of things, you might be thinking, well, I'm accumulating a lot of knowledge, a lot of understanding, I'm thinking things through really, really hard. But what are you actually doing? Okay, and what particular learnings from actually doing things should you be bringing into your life? I mean, the sense of slow progress there suggests that you yourself are holding yourself back. But then, you got to think about in what ways you're holding yourself back. Okay. What do I make of male wisdom and female wisdom? Well, it's the allegorical way in which tarot and mysticism breaks down the genders. It regards the male as being the active and the female as being the passive for some reason. That's just the way it is. Possibly as a result of history and the way that things have worked out in the world, of misinterpretations of spiritual texts going back a long time. But women have been placed in this like subdominant thing. Obviously, they're not subdominant. They're very incredible creatures. But When it's looked at allegorically, it is regarded as being more feminine wisdom to be receptive and also to be contemplative, and therefore more to do with study and more to do with those whispering words of wisdom you might hear when, walking alone in the countryside. All right. But then the male wisdom would be a question of let's get out there and do something, let's build something, let's design something, maybe more impulsive, maybe more a question of, well, I've been thinking about this for a while. Why didn't I actually do it? While I'm just sitting on my ass and thinking things through. Hello, Jacqueline. Great to see you. Welcome. Okay. So you're completely new to my channel. If you haven't subscribed, then I'd suggest you click the subscribe button, and definitely rate this video up because it's got a lot of dead air in it so far. And more people have got to see the wisdom of my face talking to them. It's like the mercurial thought wisdom and lunar intuitive wisdom. I would probably break it down more into solar as opposed to lunar. All right, the sun can burn you. It's active, it's strong, it's powerful, it's hot. Right, the moon is cold, it's tranquil, but it's also energizing. People speak about moon bathing and say that it makes them feel energized when they go moon bathing at the full moon. And maybe there's a different type of feeling associated with how moonlight affects you as how sunlight affects you. So I would say it's a question of like the wisdom of experience as opposed to the wisdom of contemplation. All right. I mean, I've had this phrase going on inside my head for a long time. If ever anything is on video or in text format, to a certain extent, it's hearsay unless you can put it to the test at home. All right. So a lot of my occultism has been about thinking about my experiences which led me into it, such as the seeing the ghost and the prophetic dreams and all the rest of that kind of stuff. All right. But also, I've been looking at other people's methods and traditions, and I've been trying to put them all together so I can then work out which ones actually do help me reach the right state of mind for this, that, and the other, and how things are going, in that respect. So Rouse says, I need your insight. Can you see what I might need? In what sense? Ask your question properly, please. Focus it down a bit. Spooky Boo, I went to development classes for years with a well-known medium in Manchester. She fell out with me when she had a physical medium do a session at her house, and it was a total fraud. Well, there are some who are like that. I mean, a lot of my attitudes through what I say here on YouTube is, you got to be skeptical. You got to think things through. And you got to be skeptical to a certain extent of your interpretation of your experiences. I mean, I can turn around to you and say, I saw a ghost, or I can turn around to you and I can say, I had experience, which within our culture we would describe as being the experience of seeing a ghost, but I don't know what it means. Because it could just be that I was B vitamin deficient at the time, or I had an allergy, and then that stimulated a temporary altered state in the dead of the night, and I saw something that wasn't there. But when I did see that ghost, that was long before I ever knew what ghosts were or what the experience was supposed to be like of seeing a ghost. I was 4 years old, for crying out loud sake, and I saw this thing. I mean, experiences like that change your life path. You ask questions, and then there's energetic experiences I've felt, and there's been the astral projections which I made happen, and all these things just make me want to ask more and more questions. And also, like, how and if there's all of this weird technology out there, this weird energy, can it be actually used and harnessed? And if so, how could that be useful for human communication, human well-being, human understanding? Well, obviously, from the understanding point of view, we can just get really, really contemplative about all this stuff and try and work out what it could mean on the basis that the experiences are real. So the concept of life after death, the concept of, therefore, if there is a spiritual reality, is there a big God somewhere in the universe? And if there is, in what particular spiritual paths would be a good allegorical describer of it? I mean, to a certain extent, being an occultist of any type, or a tarot reader, a psychic, a person using Ouija boards, or whatever, we're all trying to approach the same mystery, the mystery of being, the mystery of why we're here, and what life is actually really about. Because to the most part, right, life is about your survival. Okay, it's about your prosperity. It's about your day-to-day, like getting on, getting by, making sure the atmospheres between people is relatively okay, and looking after yourself. But is there another dimension? And is all the stuff we have to do materially part of that progression? And maybe it is. Rao says, I have a few tarot decks that I purchased from an estate sale about 7 years ago. I'd like to know what to do with them to bring them back to life. And the same for me. Any suggestions where you, whatever. Use them. Okay, if you have the tarot decks, get them out, handle them, look at the artwork, and find out what the artwork's trying to tell you. You can also go and buy books about magical symbols, which will include the astrological signs and also the meaning of the vertical line as opposed to the horizontal and the crescents and how all these things are put together, both in astrology as well as in religious language, religious artistic language, to convey meaning. And then that will then increase your understanding of what the cards could actually mean. I would recommend you buy the book by Elizabeth H., who primarily speaks about personal spiritual development with The Fool's Journey, and uses the Oswald Wirth Tarot as a means of explaining that, because she goes into color and how color has spiritual meaning and shape and form and structure and all that kind of stuff from a Christian self-developmental perspective. But, read books and play with them. Literally, you need to bring a sense of play into your study of tarot. Hello, Uncle Monkey. Following me through several of YouTube incarnations and hassling you for idiotic demonstrations. Do you have a public Amazon wish list? I don't think I do. Are you proposing to buy me something nice? If so, let me know how much you're willing to spend, and I'll add something to a wish list and I'll put it in the chat. I don't say no to gifts. All right. But anyway, but on another note, how have you actually been? How's things, been for yourself? And do you have any other questions for me whilst I'm here and I'm prepared to open my mouth about things that most people would not normally want to hear people talk about, like ghosts and demons and angels and life after death and the spiritual reality of humanity and theological issues, and getting really, really deep as if we've just been chewing on a whole 1 ounce bar of OG Kush. Hey, that's very kind of you. What will support me most in attaining wisdom this summer? Okay, yeah, okay. What would support you most in attaining wisdom this summer? So we're not actually looking at the reading, we're not looking at the experimentation, we're not looking at the this, that, and the other. What we're looking at here is support, namely support network, people and things, or maybe things that could add to your understanding. Okay. All right, we got a rather unlikely kind of reading coming on out here, because it seems to me that some negative, stressful things could be occurring which will stimulate your thought processes, and maybe something that will challenge your own ideas. I therefore think it's worthwhile actually listening out to sort of more difficult messages and trying to find where those difficult messages are, because if you're looking for wisdom, do you find it through looking at things which teach you what you already know? Okay, do you look at your existing knowledge base? Do you look specifically at where things already are for you, or do you then go straight to the opposite approach? Now, the Queen of Wands reversed could easily be a sense of friction. And I think that the interplay between the Eight of Swords and the Queen of Wands here is giving me a Saturnian kind of a message. And by that, I mean learning through some difficult times. You've got some things to put to the test. The outcome will, in fact, be quite positive. The Empress is a very holy card. The Emperor and the Empress both refer to God. Okay, it's the god and the goddess of Wicca. And if you got yourself a copy of the Night Sun, you'll see that the Emperor and the Empress in the Night Sun Tarot has a very interesting meaning, okay? But I think it's more a question of what can you do to rub against yourself the wrong way? How can you put yourself out of your comfort zone and make things slightly harder for yourself for the purposes of gaining the progress you require? I also feel that very different varieties of meditation work and getting more, doing something very different when it comes to your meditation and your spiritual work is going to be important too. What I've been attracted to more recently is journeying and trying to practice journeying properly. Uh, and I think that some variety of inner work on that side of things could be quite beneficial and appropriate for you at this stage within your life. Because yes, the Crowley was wrong. Saturn is not Satan. Okay, Satan is a construct which has its own particular meanings which have accumulated over time through people's understandings, thoughts, and feelings. All right. Saturn, on the other hand, is a big, heavy lump of lead. All right. It's a weight. It's like the lead in the coffin. It's something holding you down, but it's also preserving you in a particular state of being. Sometimes it's a message that you are frozen in time. You're frozen in your personal development. You're frozen in your thinking from a previous state, and you need to do something to jerk yourself out of it. All right, it's talking about repeated patterns or repeated patterns of thought, feeling, and behavior, which aren't necessarily working for you. All right, some variety of quick shock to the system associated with some of the things that you think about will be really important to you. All right, and looking out for it deliberately, not socially, not necessarily throwing yourself into a social environment that's wrong for you, but I'm talking about intellectually and spiritually. I think that's going to be really essential. But it does depend upon what direction you want your wisdom to go, how you want to create a situation of very real progress, and how you want other people to understand you as well. All right. I mean, the general feeling that I will be getting when reading upon yourself and upon your question is that there's still things that you need to know, but you don't know what they are. Yeah. Okay. It's some variety of subtle life changes to expand your understanding and expand your beliefs and opinions is part and parcel of what your current journey has to be about, I feel. I mean, I just get this impression that you know where you want to go, but you're not quite sure how to get there. I've got the feeling that you need to experiment more to work out what things is right for you and what ways you need to explore certain key subjects, which I think have been on your mind for a long time. And also some things about yourself, which you know is wrong, but you haven't yet gone to receive the right inspiration to set that straight, if that makes any sense. I don't know if it does or not. It just popped in there, so I thought I'd say it. What do you make of the number 322 and its meaning? Okay. It's not a bad number at all, anyway. I mean, just purely through the digits. I mean, three, four, five, six. I mean, from a numerological reduction point of view, it creates 7. And therefore, that's a sense of wholeness and completion within the old planetary system, which was a 7-planetary system, which therefore speaks of universal harmony. But if that's coming up as a suggestion, and maybe 322 is, I mean, does it always come up to you in that sequence, or is it like 232 sometimes, or something like that? Because like there's just this feeling of this being a sense of looking at traditional ideas and needing to look at traditional ideas, as well as to maintain your balance when coming across something which is challenging you. I feel this is more like an instruction for meditation and yoga. This is more of an instruction for looking at the physical as well as the spiritual, and also trying to develop practicality and increase the ways in which you can be effective through changing in some of your techniques and some of the ways in which you do things, personally speaking. So thank you for your super chats. That's very good, very useful, very beneficial. Might even encourage me to do another live show, including readings and all kinds of other stuff. I'm not sure if I'll actually do like a live Ouija board session at some point. I think that could be fun for the darker months. Yeah, okay, so numbers do come up in different orders, but it just seems like number 7 is going to be like really important to you. And the number 7 itself, all right, is an incredibly good one. Within the Golden Dawn Tarot, there are 7 court cards which have angel wings, and that's because they represent the 7 planetary systems and therefore the 7 chakra energies. Okay, so from the top to the bottom, it's Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Anael, Samael, Seychelle, and Cassiel. So your Saturnian chakra is your red chakra, your solar chakra is your crown chakra, and therefore it becomes a way of looking both at like how you're experiencing things energetically speaking, and also how consciousness could be possibly communicating with you. Do the angels exist? Well, they seem to. I mean, one thing that Aleister Crowley said was that it is convenient, and when talking about doing a ritual magic thing with angels, it is convenient to believe that the angel is real. Convenient, because he's approaching, his writing is very clever, although some of it is very intense and in your face, and it says things like you will become someone that can defeat everyone in the world, sort of thing, which is obviously rubbish. But that's like him trying to be a motivational fascist, trying to turn everyone into a hardworking person rather than necessarily, a good person who understands things. Then later on in Theory and Practice, he says things like, it is convenient to believe that the angel is real. Convenient, okay? So are these things allegories to energetic universal forces? Perhaps. Do they seem to have some interest in communicating with us? Sometimes, yes. So if you have an angel experience, does that mean that they could be real? Possibly. But if they are, then is there a reason to believe in a universal higher power? Yes. But there's so many more steps of understanding we've got to get in order to try and extrapolate that far forward. I mean, there was numerous reasons why I went to the Church of England for those 12 years. 11 or 12 years, whatever it was. One of them is that I needed to find out what these people really thought and what it meant to be one of them, as well as because I do have a faith in a higher power that's been brought about by, ironically, all of my heretical activity. So I couldn't have developed that or any particular faith in the universal consciousness unless I'd experienced something weird. I mean, just all of these things, they don't, if I had got through my entire life without one single spiritual experience, I think my life would have been simpler. But the fact I've had them makes me want to ask more questions. It makes me want to experiment more and work out what's really going on there and what the right state of mind is to try and make things happen, and then what the limitations are of this stuff and what can we actually do with it. And it's just it becomes a perpetual fascination. I mean, I got the wrong end of the stick when I was doing all this stuff when I was young, totally. And I made the mistake of listening to people who suggested that they were great experts. There's no great experts in this field. Okay, even the most experienced occultist or spiritualist will still be just like a blind man, feeling a part of the story of the 3 men and the elephant. And one picks up the leg and thinks it's a tree, one picks up the tail and thinks it's a piece of string or rope or something, and the other one picks up the trunk and thinks it's a hose pipe. Even the best spiritualists are still basically those 3 blind men. And there's just so many different points of view out there that it becomes very difficult through reading other people's work, to try and get closer to the truth. I mean, Alphonse Louis Constant said something daft about women who could meditate on the pentagram could then, through visualization, change the face of the child in her womb into having the countenance of Caesar when he grew up. I mean, what a load of rubbish. I don't see why a person who does a lot of meditation with their body couldn't actually change their health. I mean, there was one guy I used to know. He was a proper dyed-in-the-wool pagan, okay? Old guy. And he actually had built on his property a temple, basically like a brick building. The inside was spiritual. The ceiling was painted with stars and planets and all that stuff to help you meditate about opening up, okay? And we had, Wiccan celebrations in that little area for a time. Was also part of their crowd. And what he did when he got a heart problem is, as well as doing everything the doctor said, was he would go into the temple and just sit there and meditate. And in his meditation, he would talk to the heart, talk loving thoughts to the heart. And he went back to the doctor, and the doctor says, I can't explain it. The problem seems to have gone. All right. So, yes, through meditation and talking to the sickness within your body and trying to help the flesh to heal, things seem to happen, but you've still got to have enough time, you've got to have enough patience, you've got to have the right state of mind. Okay. I mean, if he was someone who still had to work full time, then he wouldn't have the time to be able to sit down and do the meditation. So what was the conditions? He was lucky enough, he was blessed enough to have that time. Well, I don't know, maybe he was taking benefits as well as everything else, and his wife was probably working at the same time. I don't know. But either way, he had the time to do that, and he could do it, and he helped his well-being through restful meditation and contemplating what part of the body was wrong and sending goodness into it. You know, these experiences happen to people. And then there's all the stuff that was written in that book by Isaac and Sargent, who's about the remote spiritual healers, and the fact that wounds did heal up better than if the creature was not being, focused upon. These things have actually happened. I mean, when Isaac and Sargent wrote that book, Explaining the Unexplained, they looked at all the various different, scientific studies that was done, and they couldn't think of a better way in which it could have been done. And therefore, they more or less say that these experiments that these people did in Russia, in the USA, and wherever, were all pointing in the same direction, that there is something there, something real, something true. But if those experimenters did their scientific rigor properly, which by the sound of things that they did, why is that then being poo-pooed by society? Why are we in this kind of like weird technocratic weirdness without having instruction about this? I mean, what if there was a way that someone could like invent or create whereby anyone who's got like a heart condition could then be given some time specifically for focused, targeted meditation, specifically on, the parts of their body that's got the problem. As well as, good allopathic medicine, as well as like extra fruit juices or something else to boost their health and well-being. I mean, there was an actual time when I thought that the title "not approved by the FDA" was something which said, yeah, man, this is true. Obviously, that's not the right attitude to take, because like if something is not FDA approved, then essentially it's not FDA approved. It might have its own specific benefits, but it would also have its specific limitations. So you then have to put them to the test. I mean, I went mad with Spooky 2 because things happened. All right. Frequency work is actually beneficial to the body without the shadow of a doubt. And I've experienced that. All right. That's why I'm so heavily involved with Spooky 2. That's why I've got a presentation for them next week. Is there anything else that anyone else wants to ask me or wants a quick reading about with the help of the magical cards? Okay, ask your question. Mark, I can't remember what were the last cards I pulled for you. That was a few seconds ago. Go on, Linda. What's your question? Hang on a second. No, I've gone and shuffled them all again. It was silly of me, wasn't it? Had a strange experience today. What was it? Tell us your strange experience. I feed off them. I'm quite good with my vitamins and minerals, but I also eat strange experiences. So feed me, feed me. I had 5 days in a row with a feeling of something wrong. Okay. What happened? So 5 days in a row, the feeling something wrong about the grandmother of your son. You haven't spoken to her. So what happened? What happened? Come on, it got me on the edge of my seat, proverbially speaking, anyway. Then I thought you should send her some flowers. Okay, okay. Then what happened? Okay. It's okay to have a bad connection. Mine's been playing up as well recently, but it's not too bad at the moment. So I had a chat from an island. Okay, so you chat from an island. Yes, but tell me more about what's happened. Go on. So you thought you should send her some flowers? Hello, Jay Bishy. Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. We're just being told a story by Linda at the moment. Well, come on. You've got me on the edge of my seat. You can't just leave me hanging like this. So you order the flowers. Okay. So what's happened? Have you heard anything? D4 delivery at 5 o'clock. Okay. Then what happened? Hmm. A moment's gal, I called her to ask OG she got them. Yes. If she got them. Okay. And what was the result? She answered from the hospital. So essentially, you're saying that you had a feeling that something was up, and it turned out that there was a reason for it because she was taken to the hospital. I've had a very strange experience similar to that myself. I mean, many years ago, my sister used to live in the Northeast, and I would go and visit her. Okay, and I would stay over for about a week. And there was one night when I woke up, and all of a sudden I was grasping my jaw, and I couldn't work out why I was doing this. And then it turned out that during that time, my mother got an abscess in her tooth, and she had to go to get some emergency work done, and she was in a lot of pain. So I had like an empathic link with my mother from about 200 miles away, and I myself was grasping my chin, the area where the tooth were, because she was in pain on the same side. So these experiences of having some kind of emotional interconnection over distance with people who are important to you is very, very real and very, very strong. And people do get these feelings, and it just does happen. All right. So yeah, you got some kind of psychic or empathic connection with the grandparent, which shows you care a lot and they care a lot about you. Yeah, that's right. But that sort of thing happens in the world. Okay, we can't always rely upon the feelings we get, but sometimes we can. It's just a question of like discerning what those feelings feel like and working out which ones are right and which ones are wrong, what comes from the inside and what comes from the outside. And that's part of where the challenges are. But a lot of the like ritualistic things we do, mm, I think you'll be surprised. There is something going on there. Yes, they do care about you. It is mutual somehow. And anyway, I wish them well. Okay. Okay, well, sometimes those who are close to you don't always know things. Can you tell me about numerology for me and can you do a reading for me? Well, Rouse, I could do a reading for you if you want. What is your question today? They think I am too strange. Well, everyone thinks I'm strange. But strange people are the ones who are looking into the world. Strange people are the ones who are asking the questions. And the people who aren't strange just fit in with the cookie cutter reality out there, which is essentially pretty sick and pretty like, third dimensional. Most people who watch my shit are quite strange, okay? Probably because like attracts like. Well, I'm sorry you've been through so many difficult things, Linda. It's difficult. People are difficult. Circumstances are difficult. Human psychology is difficult. Whenever you're starting a new relationship, there's always some challenges associated with that. Whenever you're starting a new friendship or joining a new social circle, there's always challenges with that too, because you're coming across people and people have baggage and people have problems. Yeah, well, again, I'm sorry you've been through so much, but chill with this. You have to be in a state of acceptance that people are difficult. Yeah, I think the strange people do see more, all right, because we're looking out for other things. We're trying to work out what's really happening. But unfortunately, we can't go around telling other people because no one else is in the same frame. And also, some of the other people associated with the occult world, all right, they won't listen either because they're they got their own screwed up shit going on with them, which it just makes them even more difficult, which makes the process of trying to find out what's true when it comes to all of the world of the weird stuff even harder. All right, because all you're doing is you're just coming across more people with more baggage rather than coming across people who say, well, okay, we can find what's really happening here. We can try and make it work for you, uh, and try and do you and the rest of the world some good. I mean, the number of people who are actually like properly doing stuff by my standards is incredibly small. Okay, so you got a question about money. I feel it all around me, but there are forces constantly working to keep it from me. Yeah, one of them is called the inland revenue. Um, and the cost of looking after yourself, that can be a challenge. Okay, well, you could hypothetically operate spiritually on that through doing some kind of like attraction spell, for want of a better word. Or indeed, if you think that there is some, energetic force which is stopping it from coming your way, then it's a question of working out what that is and banishing it. Have you got a copy of the Exorcist's Handbook? Because there could be some information from that which could be of use, taking into account the way in which you appear to be approaching spiritual matters. but also maybe it's a question of finding another line, another route to achieve money, which cannot be affected by all of the forces around you. All right, a different way of doing work, a different way of earning money, a different way of doing this, that, and the other. Okay. Well, just literally just a different job, just finding a different way of getting the money coming in. I mean, okay, let's have a look. Simple 3-card reading. Again, signs associated with in-depth hard work. The Prince of Discs is a very down-to-earth sign in general. It speaks about effort. It speaks about hard work. But it speaks about the application of knowledge and understanding and clarity of thoughts in order to get to where you want to go. It's reversed. Maybe there's ways in which you're not thinking clearly about how to overcome these challenges. Princess of Swords upright does speak about obstacles and does speak about issues, but it also speaks about your own personal power to be able to block them and stop them from affecting you. Finally, your Queen of Discs, which came out reversed, okay, which means there's a twist to the meaning, but the meaning itself is not reversed. It does speak about acquisition, but it's also cautioning you to make sure that you don't do something financially detrimental to yourself in the process of getting somewhere. It's a sign associated with increasing your material wisdom, specifically for the purposes of getting your life sorted out and moving your existence further forward. To the most part, nature spirit, we have to keep ourselves to ourselves, all right? Because there's nobody out there who we can talk to about this, including those in the occult and magical and spiritual worlds, because they're all very interested in their politics or their spirituality, the way that they interpret it, and to enforce that upon other people. All right, and some people are just involved in the occult world just to find a new way of bullying people, which actually does happen, including in religious circles, including in pagan religious circles, as well as Christian religious circles and all the rest. But the sense of religious bullying, I think, is rather different, because when you get involved with magical people, you want the answers, you want the skills, you want to move forward, you want your problems gone. Okay, you're probably looking out for miracles. But if you're looking out for miracles and you come across people in the occult world and they can't provide it because they say this, that, and the other works, but when you present them with a hard problem, they can't do nothing, you then have to question them as people, because they're questionable people. All right, I have serious issues with most people in the occult world. And I think that most of them, because of their vocabulary or ability to use vocabulary appropriately, is kind of it stops them from getting messages across. They've got too many issues and they're carrying too much baggage. And they're not interested in the search for the truth. They're interested in alphaing up over people. How can I make the family of my son understand that I can see things, but I am not dangerous? They're afraid of me. We have to lie. We have to lie. Okay, it's just the basic hard truth. When I'm hanging out with my parents, I don't tell them. In fact, I act as if and talk as if I've got no beliefs in this subject, to the most part. Because it's just a struggle of being a bit different and needing to behave in a normal way just so that we can survive. Well, it's going to be hard. Okay, you've got a challenge. There's no point in me asking the reading. You have to find a way of not letting them know what you think, or trying to find a way of explaining that you think what they think. Just like when you go to college, they always tell you, teachers tell you, we want to know what you think. No, they don't. They want to know that you think what they think, which is intellectually flaccid, really. And those are the ones with the PhDs. All right, those are the ones with the PhDs. Okay, and they don't have the ability to think. And I think that frightens me as well. Hey, that's very kind of you. Well, thank you very much indeed for your support. I'm actually overjoyed that you've been contributing financially. I have 3 super chats today. That's very, very, very useful, because I've got money going out. Um, what would happen if you promised them that you won't bring unusual things into their life? I mean, that's another thing. If they go to church, you've got to go to church with them. If they don't go to church, and you've got to say, yeah, I love Richard Dawkins too, even though you think he's a complete unhinged tosspot. He said some very good things about the Brexit thing, but pretty much everything else is slightly hooey. uh, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. If you haven't yet looked into Spooky 2 as a means of potentially dealing with your cancer, then do it. Possibly even get yourself registered with a cannabis clinic. See if you can get some Rick Simpson oil. That might help. I don't know. I'm not a medical practitioner. I'm just a guy who's quite keen on Spooky 2 and that's knows it's important. You shouldn't try to wake the sleeping at this point, in my opinion. They are where they want to be. Well, they are where they feel physically comfortable being, but also they haven't really got, we aren't in a culture of people who think. The educational system has not taught us to think, it's told us to do as we're told. The working environment teaches us to know our place. The social environment says there's only specific ways in which we do things. So the only time you can do your free thinking is basically behind closed doors. That's the only time you got any intellectual liberty. All right. The only time you got some like emotional liberty. The only time you can actually try and be whatever the heck you think you are at the time. The rife there. Oh, you did. Yeah, the weed's probably illegal somewhere in Norway. Even if you don't have any clinics out there. Oh, okay. Well, have a look at Rife Therapy then. Spooky2-mal.com. If you can afford that stuff. No, you don't want to do that either. Okay, whatever floats your boat. Because like, if I got cancer, I would be doing Spooky 2. Thank you very much indeed, Annie D. Great. Thank you very much for this. This is wonderful. I didn't think this would happen. I'm feeling really good. Oh God. Well, the most basic level of entrance into Spooky 2 is about 300, 400 pound. So that might be doable. But I'm not sure that would be appropriate because you still need more generators in order to complete the protocol and probably plasma as well. So yeah, it would be pricey. Oh God, I don't know what else I can say. I can't suggest anything. The raw vegan people say they've got a cancer treatment. There's people who say that there's a way of using fenbendazole for cancer, although I don't know. I can't put that to the test at home, so I can't really tell you. But there are protocols out there which will hopefully be able to help. But I'm not a doctor. I'm just a guy who reads stuff because I myself am interested in health and well-being. I'm a long-standing chronic fatigue sufferer with candidiasis and parasites. So yeah, I've got to carry on looking after myself as best of my ability. And I came across Spooky 2. I came across the herbal treatments. I came across the Sharkman protocol, which I've been experimenting with recently. Yeah. How can I start working with numerology? Is it recommended? I am a single dad of 3 sons, was hit by a car head on while in my motorcycle, have not worked since the last March 22nd. Shit, man, you've gone through the ringer, haven't you? You got to ask yourself what you want to study and why you want to study it. And then as you carry on exploring it, to see whether that's the thing which is actually going to help you intellectually and emotionally to give you the strength to get through this period in time. Yes, Linda. Gerson therapy is supposed to be very good. Very good indeed. I've actually read The Gerson Therapy by Charlotte Gerson myself. It is a fantastic thing, but I'm glad you've had some progress with Gerson. But something else. I mean, Marcus Rothkrantz has got a website called marcusproducts.com, and he's got his free ebook, Heal Yourself 101, and that's very strong raw veganism. I don't know whether that could help either. I don't know. But I can tell you it's out there. So you've done Gerson, maybe try the raw vegan thing. And do the best you can. We all need marijuana oil. Everyone needs marijuana oil, seriously. Not only, well, definitely medically. It's good at reducing some of the parasites in the digestive tract, so I understand. obviously as a non-medical person. Hmm. But what you could possibly go for, Linda, is a Halder-Clark zapper, because the Halder-Clark zapper will reduce some of the parasites in your digestive tract, as well as some of the things causing some aspects of your disease. It's not a cure for anything, okay, but it is just an increase in wellness tool. But I would suggest something like a 4-hour treatment on one particular day, you know, and then try and do as long as you can, whenever you can, with Halder-Clark zapper. There's a website that's owned by Spooky2, and it's called Heawea, Heawea, and it provides you with essentially a cut price rife machine, and that would be quite useful to yourself as well for a zapper, as well as a bit of fun rifing. Okay, when I did zapping with Halder-Clark zapping frequency being 30,000 cycles per second using a frequency generator, positive offset 9 volts, I did my 7 minutes on, 20 minutes off, 7 minutes on, 20 minutes off for about 4 hours. This is like the first time I'd done zapping in ages. And what happened is my digestive system completely emptied a lot of rotten crap which had been accumulating in there for years. And my father even thought that a sewer had broken open because of the quantity of smelly toxicity and rotting, decaying matter which came out of my body. Which suggests to me that zappings, well, there's plenty of websites which will do you a Halder-Clark zapper. Okay, just go onto eBay. eBay will do Halder-Clark zappers, and also Don Croft and that sort of thing. But what I personally would recommend if you want to get more for yourself is from heawea.com, heawea.com, and that's a cut down, cheap price Spooky2 rife machine. Heawea, Heawea. Okay, and that's like I think it's about 400 quid. And it acts as a zapper and a rife machine, and it does other things too on a small way. Okay, Heawea, as in health wearable. And it's actually quite a good device. I've got one myself, and I use that to work. That's right, Heawea, and that helped me reduce some of the candidiasis in my digestive system quite nicely. Okay, and also it's compatible with the contact devices from Spooky2. So you can do the hand grips, you can do the TENS pads, you can do the gloves and all the rest of it. Give yourself overnight sessions. And so that could be a cheap way of getting into rife, but you can't do biofeedback with it, which is what you could do with their Generator X. Heawea. 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 Not quite like Shiwi, but Heawea. You love the way I say candidiasis. Yeah, I make it seem like it's a nice dessert in a restaurant, don't I? You know. Do you like the tiramisu or would you like the candidiasis? Very nice, yes. You know, the Heawea device is good. All right. What's better is that obviously the more expensive, better generators that Spooky2's got with plasma and everything else. I use the plasma every night at the moment to try and control some of the pathogen infections inside my body. And it does things. You know, you can feel things dying in your legs. You know, I got the plasma bulb near the head of my bed, but it can still affect even my feet sometimes. But I've just got to do the regular biofeedback to try and make sure I'm getting the right numbers for my body. Rifing is good. Actually, I've got a presentation for Spooky2 on Thursday. I'm still writing up the PowerPoint at the moment, but that'll be about their Morgellons and Lyme protocol and trying to help people to understand how to do that. So I guess I've evolved totally into a proper mind, body, and spirit guy. How do I feel about Wilhelm Reich? Well, I got questions, but I've also got Orgonite. There's a funny energetic feeling about this stuff. And it's difficult to put into words. But if you're using something like the radionics machine, you're supposed to be using a slab of orgonite as the fuel, the spiritual energy fuel on the input plate to help things go out the output plate where you got the thing you want to affect, as well as a crystal to provide more spiritual power to it. 3 chembusters and love sniffing the pipes. Ooh, So you found the Hiwi website. Excellent, excellent. It's it's good because that will provide you with I think it's nearly every single frequency set in the Spooky 2 database you can download into that device, and then you can just run it. All right, with TENS pads attached to your body, so you can get the contact through, or you can use the hand cylinders, or you can put the conductive glove on one hand and conductive sock on the other hand, and just sleep with it in bed. And you can receive a treatment that way. So, but I would use microporous tape to hold your TENS pads on if you're doing an overnight thing. Could be that there's an ionization effect to your chembuster tubes, hypothetically, and that could be like bringing in some positivity, literally on an electronic ionic thing. No problem, no problem, no problem. It's okay. Yeah. I mean, I like that smell. I mean, I've got an ozone generator downstairs that I've used to make ozonated water in the past, because that just makes the water taste a bit fresher and feel fresher. So get your water, chill it thoroughly, then ozonate it, and then the flavor of the water itself will just be a lot better. Yeah, I mean, basically give it a go and just work out what kind of experiences you get with TENS pads on your zapper. I mean, some people are happy with the hand cylinders. I don't know whether it'll work better or worse that way. Some people say the signal is not quite as precise when you use TENS pads, but I'm not too sure if those figures are necessarily right or accurate or true. So what are your views on Wilhelm Reich? Okay, any more questions? Any more reading questions? I think it's the case with a lot of things. I mean, if you think about it, Jimmy Carter put up solar panels on the White House, but then, hey presto, what was it, Carter? No, Kennedy. That's right. But Kennedy ended up being shot. So who was really behind that? Was it an oil lobby sponsored person? Who knows? I don't think we can say it's a controller's agenda. It means that there are people involved who try and portray something as being true, and they might have some truth to it, but they are in charge. They have power, and therefore it's people who have the power and the money who try and define the way the world is, and the rest of us have to try and look like and sound like we fit into it, just for the purposes of day-to-day survival. Well, he would have been named the Beast in America, wouldn't he? Anyone who's even remotely progressive in America is called a devil. It's part of what it means to be an American. If anyone's even remotely good, you're Satan, you drink baby's blood, and that crazy shit. Well, what could have got him killed is the fact that he was like someone who had a heart. People who have a heart and have compassion and have got understanding about the way things are really going. These are people who, people like the oil lobby, the gun lobby, the this, that, and the other lobby will want to rail against. Well, yeah, he had to call out the CIA, but the CIAs aren't very nice people. I presume the FBI aren't very nice people either, and they've got their own sort of like reasons to do what they do. Hmm. It could be the CIA, but on the other hand, who are the CIA working for? Was there even more money behind it? We don't know. I mean, there's lots of political complexity about the way in which the United States of America has evolved, and the positive aspects of the Constitution is kind of like become warped. Uh, there should be a dollar sign at the bottom of the chat somewhere, and I think you can click that. And then, if you want to contribute a couple of quid to me, that would be a wonderful thing. That would definitely help me out with my council tax. Very useful. Uh, and it's wonderful to have so many people showing, respect in that way. I really like that. Thank you. Thank you very much. I am literally very grateful. I didn't think that would happen tonight, because I just thought I'd just sit down and chat because, hey, it's Friday, and hey, Preston, hey, do some work for me, and here's a couple of quid. Great. I'd be happy to do that for you. It's actually rather weird how it worked out, because I didn't buy my first pack of tarot cards specifically to learn how to be a tarot reader, but that just sort of like developed, and that the idea of me doing it kind of like developed with time. But I wanted a vehicle and I wanted a tool to try and work out how I could make my prophetic dreams happen when I'm awake. And so I wanted to explore tarot and other divinatory tools to try and work out what's really going on there. Why did I have those prophetic dreams? I mean, we're in a world with billions of people in it. All right, because there's billions of people in the world, there's billions of pairs of eyes, there's billions of brains, and no one can't tell me that like these people are not going to experience something which is not yet researched by science, and they will think that there's something true going on there, because that's the way it is for me. That's the way it is for me in terms of just everything. What you could do is you could PayPal me if you want. If you want to be that kind and generous, you can just PayPal me to nickdutchtarot.com. Okay, I'll write my PayPal email address in there. Oh, sorry, it's no, it's nickdutchtarot@gmail.com. Silly me. Oh, paypal.me/nickdutchgb. I want a reading about why my ex abused me. Sounds a bit dark, but we can give it a go. Do you have the first name of your ex? First name of your ex, please, so I can tune in. Okay. Well, let's have a look anyway, shall we? Without the name. 1, 2, 3. Oh, God. Right. You're dealing with someone who was very toxic from the outside. You're dealing with someone who was very frustrated and wanted everything to be his own way. You're dealing, therefore, with someone who had a child's mentality in an adult's body. I would associate some of these signs possibly even with addictive behavior and a sense of something being wrong with them mentally speaking, which has had some kind of like negative impact upon who they are as an individual in terms of their growth and their energy towards you. The forces between yourself and the ex, all of it is conflict, and all of it is very juvenile conflict. And that speaks about where their mental health really was. This is not a well person we're reading on today. I'm looking at the cards on their side of things, and I'm feeling this kind of like, kind of like things I wouldn't really want to touch. All right. The mentality there is complicated. This was a very injured person who was very injured when they were very young. I would even go so far as to say they might have been abused as a child, not just bullied, okay, but actually abused somehow. There's a sense of neglect with that person and a sense that is an individual who's only got to wherever it is they wanted to go to in life as a result of being unpleasant to other people. So there's some real sense of sickness and twistedness and lack of clarity of thoughts and no real desire to improve themselves. It's like they are shying away from any form of self-improvement or anything which is good or true or right or appropriate. There's some sense of like stuff bubbling around under the surface with that person, which should really have been aired or cleared up a long, long time ago. Okay, so it's not the easiest of people you could ever be involved with. Okay, in fact, it's one of the more challenging types of people. They probably promised an awful lot in the early days. They probably made it seem quite easy in the early days and hid an awful lot of their character from you. So it wasn't an honest relationship on their side of things. The sense of power and control that they were trying to inflict upon you is disgusting. And that's what's led you to end up developing this mentality. To a certain extent, initially you seem to try and be accepting, you try to be understanding, but essentially you're not dealing with a person who should be understood. They then beat you into submission to a certain extent, making you weaker emotionally, placing you into a state of being subservient to a certain extent. But there's also this feeling of now he's gone. All right, you're actually going through a strong period of healing on lots of different levels. And I have a feeling that you'll be able to achieve something good as far as your longer term future is concerned. The energy of the reading, therefore, is to rise above it. All right, what's happened has happened. But it's also an environment, it's also a message about what quality of person you should actually be with and what you should be respecting in terms of the men in question. That's complicated, Linda. Okay, we can say that's complicated. Okay, so Rouse says, I approached a Spooky 2 scaler and the amplifier he did a video on about 2 years ago. I started to set it up, but gave up too quickly, I feel. Did you have success with it for creating? I use Spooky 2 scaler either side of my bed at night, every single night, and I just leave it running. I have the plasma unit beside that. That's giving me plasma, and the scaler will be helping my tissues to hopefully be healthier. It has not stopped my hernia. Okay, so it hasn't actually cured me, but it has actually done me some good, energetically speaking. Yeah, Linda, you've gone through a hell of a lot. Okay, but you know you have to see it as being a good thing that guy is your ex, and you got to realize that he's just like sick. Okay. Oh yeah, and yeah, there's scary stuff which happen in the world. That's okay, Linda. That's okay. I use a scaler nightly, but not the amp. Okay, then just carry on using scaler. I mean, I would not give up on using scaler. I think it's just something you just have to carry on using just for your general wellness. If you were treating cancer, I would say that you should go for plasma. because the plasma kit with all its accessories are powerful. Yeah, but seriously, Linda, let that stay in the past. You don't need to dwell upon that shit no more. Okay. Yeah, I mean, with all these things, whether it's for your health and well-being, or whether it's for your spirituality, or whether it's to do with experimentation with organ devices, you should be taking notes with the passage of time. For yourself, Nick, what percentage of your ability to perceive energy comes from gifted talent, and how much is from practice? There's always weird people who say, well, it's born into me, that's why I'm so good. Well, those people are just trying to say that you can't develop it. I think anyone can develop it. But I think you've got to drive yourself a little bit crazy to a certain extent with things like mind machines and meditation and spiritual practice. I mean, if you were someone who'd never done drink or drugs, and you were perfectly healthy, then you would have to learn the state of mind of prayer real hard. You would have to go into meditation real hard. You'd have to experiment with all these different states of mind and see which one seems to do what. And also to have the ability to discern what comes from inside and what comes from the outside, and how they all feel, and the fact that some of them feel different in some ways. Okay, so I think every single person on the face of the planet has some ability, but it's a question of just like training it. These things just like, if you're trying to learn a new skill in anything, it's going to take time, it's going to take energy, it's going to take work, it's going to take practice, it's going to take like years of you not having the result that you wanted or the experience that you wanted. And a lot of frustration with a lot of the people who were the alleged teachers who are supposed to have had like better attitudes. There's some fair few of them out there, I'm telling you. And that's one of the reasons why like humans suck. Humans have real problems. Yeah, I think that, yeah, Linda, I think that guy was seriously damaged. Yeah. Narcissistic, mentally ill, piece of shit, not trustworthy. Then essentially it's a very good thing that he is fucking out of your life. And you can carry on, work on your personal healing, work on your, you're looking after yourself. And just carry on being the strong person that you are, because you are important to the world. Any more questions for Nick Dutch whilst he's here, and whilst you got me live? Because I've been live for 1 hour and 47 minutes, so I'm not going to stay around forever. I'd like to, but I really need to have some chill out time watching some B movies so that I can rest my weary head. Okay, glad you liked it. I'm glad for that. Okay. Okay, well, I don't know who it was who recommended you, or whether it was just YouTube saying, "Hey, man, Nick Dutch is great." Whoever it was or whatever it was, we thank them. We truly thank them, and thank you for your presence, because it's the viewership which makes the channel stay alive. It's the viewership which keeps everything good. Mm-hmm. That's all right. Peace, love, and harmony. Okay. Okay, for those of you who don't know, I'm also on Bigo Live. I've got an ID number, which you can search for if you're doing that sort of thing. Right, which is there 907 991 465. 907 991 465. I haven't actually given that a proper name yet. So, but if you don't do it, then you don't do it. It doesn't matter. Okay, so you've had a lot of history with them, but as I say, let that go now. Linda, let that go. It's important. Okay, I'm going to shoot off right now because, I need to, and I look forward to speaking to you again in a bit. All right, look after yourselves. Bye for now.